You're watching the Halos in the Infield network, proudly sponsored by 714 Tickets. At 714 Tickets, the price you see is the price you pay, no hidden fees. Plus, enjoy an additional 10% off with the code HITI at checkout. Visit them at 2424 East Catella Avenue in Anaheim or online at 714tickets.com. Now, a toast to our friends over at Noble Ale Works. Stop by their tap room at 1621 South Sinclair Street, Suite B in Anaheim. You can also visit them online at noblealeworks.com. Enjoy exclusive drink discounts when you mention HITI when ordering. Plus, if you're heading to the game afterward, park for free at Noble. And finally, our friends over at the OC Dugout, your go-to spot for the best in sports memorabilia. From autographed gear to rare collectibles to exclusive in-person autograph signings, they've got it all. Visit them at 1928 East Center Street in Anaheim or shop online at theocdugout.com. Tell them Halos in the Infield sent you.
Yo, we talking horners, heaters, web gems too. Breaking down the lead, bringing facts to you. From the Bronx to the Bay, every team, every game, it's around the league. No big game James. Around the league, every night. Big time moments, stadium lights. Halos in the infield, bringing the flame. It's around the league with big game James. With big game James. Round up the victory, big game James. James.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Around the League with James here, or Big Game James, whatever you want to call me. Gonna take you around the league real quick. It's still spring training, of course, so there's stories out there. The games don't mean anything, but we're gonna go down some avenues here. Just the major stories going around. That's pretty much it. I don't, like I said, the scores don't really mean much, but I think more the trade rumors, the other stuff, I think that means more right now. So we'll get into that, but be sure to follow all the, watch all the programs here. I watched Dominic's minor league show yesterday. And it was very, very good, very informative about players that are coming up with the team. The Angels do have the 30th ranked farm system, but maybe that'll grow. But a lot of knowledge with Dominic there. Of course, he's in the business, so that helps. And he knows his stuff, so be sure to follow him on Catella Chronicles as well. And then again, watch all the programs here on HITI network. So be sure to follow all the sponsors as well, because there's a lot of savings, a lot of time saved, a lot of money saved if you do put in the codes for 714 Tickets, take advantage of Noble and elsewhere. So check all that out, please. Hopefully you're dry out there if you're in Southern California. I know folks have taken the weather with them, possibly to Arizona. So we'll see if there's games going on. But let's start off with the topics here. Now, of course, I keep mentioning about how there might not be a 2026 MLB season because of labor issues, and there is plenty. I mean, we can go the whole year and talk about the issues going on right now. There is a lot going on, and a lot that needs to be, solved before December of this year, or else we're going to be in a lockout. But as the title means here, we're not going to take it anymore, like the song mentions. So the players union rep Tony Clark, bad guy, good guy. What do you think? He mentions that the 2026 season may not happen, and then the commissioner Rob Manfred agreed and said, "quote A lockout would be good for Major League Baseball." For who? I kind of get what he's saying, but you don't want to say that out loud. He's been known to say things out loud that just hurt the situation. It doesn't help the situations that he's been in. The Astros, when he mentioned that, for the Dodgers, that it's just a hunk of metal. It doesn't mean much. That drove Dodger fans bonkers after the 2017 World Series, of course. So, Rob mentioning that out of line there, but I do side with the owners, and I'll tell you why in a bit. But there were some players even interviewed, and there was a lot of them that mentioned that they're expecting a lockout because they don't want to lose their money. They don't want to lose the possibilities of their contracts coming up and happening. So the players are fighting for themselves and their families, or at least that's what they're being told to say by the players' union. Meanwhile, the owners are sick of paying players who don't want to play. Example is Anthony Rendon, who just got hurt again and will have another setback. Probably won't play this season. And if there's a lockout next season. So it's just a lot of it. And most of the fans get screwed whether games are played or not, it seems like. And whenever there's a lockout, I know I wasn't around in 94, but I know a lot of people were turned away. It took a roided home run competition in 98 to get baseball back. I even watched, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. I wasn't much of a baseball fan back then. But it took a while for fans to come back. The problem, though, for fans, the tickets are more expensive than ever, and games are harder to find more than ever on TV or streaming. So, example is, the Apple TV or Roku on Sunday. Older folks don't want to have to go looking for something. You want all the teams to be available. And that's where Manfred has to have that lockout issue. I'm not lockout issue, but the blackout issue resolved, where you don't have to get blacked out if you're not in a certain area. But how are you going to make your money? See, that's going to be the big problem. Another part of why we'll have labor disputes, or why we're having the disputes right now, the deferring Dodger contracts and other teams as well. I think the Blue Jays did it with a free agent they signed, but that plays a part in why we won't have a 2026 season. Setting money aside, teams having more money and able to spend it on the team, and having other revenues, just with building something, or just having the money that other teams don't. So that's going to be a problem. So after December, it's going to be, I don't know. We'll see if we have baseball. Like I mentioned, the disparity between the owners, right? How, you have 5 or 6 teams that really spend, and then you have the middle teams, and then you have the teams that don't spend. You look at Miami, who constantly get rid of players once their contract comes, or even before their contract year comes up. If they're any good, they sell them away. Pittsburgh is the same thing, but when they're main stars, when that happens. You look at what happened with Garrett Cole. He was traded after or before he got paid to the Astros, and eventually the Yankees paid him. This could happen with Paul Skeens. It's just something where the owners don't want to spend. I know you're in small markets, but that's where we would love to see maybe a salary cap or a floor where you have to spend. And if you don't, well, we're gonna take some draft picks away, fine you, or maybe even threaten to make you sell the team. And that's what I would want to see. White Sox, you could talk about them being in the Chicago market. Cubs are spending, but the White Sox aren't. They did bring 20 plus free agents in, but they've been around and they're not, stars, of course. And then you look at the Angels situation where Tony Clark actually called out the Angels, where he mentioned about Artie Moreno, you're in a unique market. Tony Clark mentioned Southern California, not LA, play in Anaheim, the Angels do, but where you have to spend, you have to market yourself like you used to. Remember, Artie made all this money before he owned the Angels off of billboards, advertisements, right? And it just seems like ever since 2016, 2017, there's just been a downfall about the team success and then just about Artie. And you'll hear this all the time on all the other shows. Not all the shows, but just how bad Moreno has run the Angels, ran them down in the ground. Now their payroll is up to just over $200 million this year, but Clark and others were mentioning it should be at least 250. Now Clark, of course, is on the side of the players getting money, not necessarily caring about the fans that have to spend more. They just want more money. But remember, the Angels and Artie have been scarred by bad contract signings, bad trades that turned into, contract extensions that just did not fare well. So that's going to be the issue. Again, I would love to see a salary cap or a floor where teams would have to spend a certain amount or even more. And then those who want to spend over have a harsher luxury tax. I would love for that to happen. You see that in the middle class and the upper class, where if they make a certain amount, they have to pay higher taxes. You can do that with baseball. And I know that it's already happening, but we got to get the teams, like I mentioned, the A's, who did spend once they left Oakland, but they were threatened by MLB to do so, going to a minor league ballpark and then eventually going to Las Vegas, where you have to spend, where you have to be a market. You have to be in a market like Vegas and go all in. No pun, but you know what I mean. They don't want that to fail. Now, it looks like a failure already with they're barely with having the groundbreaking there, whatever the case is for the A's. Just a terrible situation going on, but we'll see how that all goes through. Again, 3 years or more in Sacramento, but don't call them Sacramento. That's going to be interesting. But they paid 3 guys already. They signed 2 free agents and re-upped Rooker, their power hitting designated hitter. So there is a little bit of hope with spending, at least with the A's, but they were forced to do it. Teams like Miami, Pittsburgh, and the White Sox aren't being forced. They're just, crying and claiming small market. Now, there's such a difference, though, between the owners of big markets and small markets. I get it. You look at Milwaukee, who lost Adames in free agency to San Francisco. And remember, MLB threatened Milwaukee saying, you better, renovate your stadium, Miller Park or whatever it's called now. I won't call it anything else, but it's like, you better do that or we'll take the Brewers out of town. Also, another issue, the television and streaming. Those are also key issues. Again, last week, Rob Manfred taking MLB out of ESPN coverage after this season. 500 million put in and lost now. That's going to be a topic whenever there is arrows pointed at Rob Manfred, and there's plenty of them. That's going to be another one that Tony Clark and the defendants can use against him. Many teams, of course, did lose or get back their broadcasting rights on regional sports networks. Of course, with the Angels, with Bally Sports being turned into FanDuel Sports Network. Now, that's going to be an issue going forward. Will Amazon step in to buy MLB and help out? What channel on cable will have MLB coverage weekly? Not everyone has MLB Network. There's Fox and FS1 and TBS. So you're going to have another channel step in, or have Turner, since they're losing the NBA, like I mentioned last week, get the MLB package more than just one game. So let me know in the comments how you would fix Major League Baseball through the labor unrest that's upcoming. Really let me know in the comments. Really have your opinions and everything that you would think would help, and whatever else you think about this, because will there be baseball in 2026? That's going to be the key issue. All right. I am so sorry about this banner we're going to have right here, but hey, short left field. It's like we're playing softball. But Jose Altuve will be playing left field, not all the games, but most of them now for the Houston Astros. See what I did there? Sorry, Jose. He just killed everyone, the Angels. But please don't get him wet, because the microphone's right there, or the beeper's right there. Anyway, Altuve, he has the most starts at second base of any MLB player, but that may end as Houston is planning to play Altuve mostly in the left field this season. Manager Joe Espada told reporters on Monday. And man, it's interesting too, having someone change positions that has had just two of their starts elsewhere in his whole career since 2011, not at second base. I mean, that's going to be interesting. And that was probably at short, right? Shortstop. The Astros, though, they didn't go out and inquire a blatant replacement at second base. It wasn't like, hey, let's go get Tim Anderson and see what's happening. The Angels got him. Or let's get, a free agent second baseman that can just do, the minimum. And instead they got Christian Walker for first base, which is great. But they lost a lot when you think about the Astros. And whenever we have our team predictions, divisions, it's going to be interesting to see what people think about the Astros. Anyway, the idea of moving Altuve from the Astros to left field was first brought up when the team was looking to keep third baseman Alex Bregman. Remember, we talked about him last week as well. If Bregman had returned to Houston, it might have forced newly acquired Isaac Paredes from the Rays and I believe the Cubs too. Yeah, the Cubs. He was in the Kyle Tucker deal. Anyway, Paredes would have shifted to second base, and then Altuve to left field, but Bregman would have been there at third. But Bregman decided to join the Red Sox because they paid him out of the building. So Paredes will stay at third for the Astros this season. When you talk about Altuve, he said at the team's fan fest before Bregman signed, of course, he said, quote, "Whatever I have to do for Bregman to stay, I'm willing to do it." So Altuve wanted to keep a part of that cheating team together, and it's just now Bregman and Atuve. Uh, he was also asked about how difficult it would be to switch to the outfield after never playing there before, and he said with a smile, "quote For Alex Bregman, nothing will be difficult." End quote. Man, it's going to be interesting. But even after Bregman signed with Boston, the Astros still thought it made sense to move Altuve to left field. Now, I know you're asking, who's at second, right, for the Astros, since they're moving Altuve to left? Mauricio Dubon, who has played some good innings for the Astros, and then Brendan Rodgers, who came from free agency from Colorado. I bet he's happy to leave Colorado. But they've swapped starting duties at second base throughout spring training. Dubon, of course, is the utility man who has played every position across the diamond with his 2 seasons in Houston. So he's been very, very important. And again, Rodgers coming to Houston from Colorado. So, and also, there was also some video out there and observers mentioning in Florida that Altuve did not have the arm. It was almost like a Juan Pierre kind of arm. Remember, he didn't have much arm, but they always put him out in the outfield because he was fast. But it's going to be interesting to see because they said he doesn't have the big arm, but at least he could get to cuff, man, and then the relay can happen at least. So if you're watching a Houston Astro game, look out for that with Jose Altuve. Now, some interesting news again this week that was in, and let's get the banner here. Put him in. And of course, we're talking about Pete Rose for the Hall of Fame. Rob Manfred is considering a petition to have Pete Rose removed from Major League Baseball's ineligible list. There was also pressure from President Trump, and the reinstatement petition was also filed by Jeffrey Lenkov, a Southern California lawyer who represented Rose prior to his death at age 83 in September. It's almost, for me, now here's my opinion, and it might sound horrible, terrible, whatever the hell you want to think about it, but it's almost as if Rose is now an inmate on death row, and the governor calls and says, hey, don't pull the switch yet. But it's too late because they already pulled the switch down with Rose dying last year. And of course, the popular opinion around Major League Baseball, the fans, the media saying that Rose would get in when he was dead. He would never be alive to see it. The also issues is, hey, do you let the steroid guys in? Do you let Shoeless Joe Jackson in from the 1919 White Sox? The cheating scandal there in the World Series, where World Series games went 8 games, I think it was. But anyway, if you watch a movie, baseball movie to get you back in the mood for baseball, watch 8 Men Out. I think it's on Prime or Hulu. I can't remember where it is, but you'll see all the you'll see some great actors, and you'll see how all that went. But it just seemed like with Pete Rose, yeah, he'd be dead before he would get in the Hall of Fame, even though his memorabilia is in the Hall of Fame. His number 14 is retired at Great American Ballpark. I believe he has a statue, I want to say, in his batting stance, and then whatever else that MLB has decided to let him have, but not put him in the prestigious Hall of Fame where he belongs. He played the game like it should be played. Now, I know he had a rough life off the field, but on the field, I know a lot of fans didn't the road fans, for some reason, didn't appreciate him. Charlie Hustle, like all he did was hustle. He was a team player. It was all that for him. No one played harder than Pete Rose in MLB. No one did. Just to go over his numbers and his accolades, 17-time All-Star. He is the career leader of base hits with 4,256. He also holds a major league record for games played at 3,562 and the most plate appearances, 15,890. He was a one-time MVP of the National League in 1973, and he played on 3 World Series winners. That was 75 and 76 of the Reds, and 1980 with the Philadelphia Phillies. He played on Cincinnati, Philadelphia, Montreal, which was weird, and then he went back to the Reds and managed the Reds, and that's when in 85-86 he was betting on games for his team to win, I believe it was. Never bet on them to lose. Perhaps had good intel, but still, I know he cheated, but eventually everybody gets pardoned, right? So you saw what happened earlier this year, but in another realm, but still, excuse me. Just put him in, do the right thing, but it's also going to have a domino effect about the steroid guys. Should you have the cheaters in their own wing of the hall? I had a good friend say, why don't you tell the whole story of baseball in the Hall of Fame? Even the good parts and even the bad parts, right? Racial issues, discriminational issues, whatever. You gotta put it all in there. They let the Negro Leagues stats get in there. I know that was controversial because it wouldn't matter because those players didn't get to play against MLB. But a little tribute to them is great. Now you got to do a tribute to Pete Rose because of how he treated the game. I know he treated a lot of people like crap off the field. The abuses, the tax invasion, the just whatever you heard about Pete Rose off the field. Try to throw that out the way. But it could be a reason why he wasn't ever selected anyway in the Hall of Fame. Or he was never considered to being, relieved of what he did. And also lying about it, I think, also put his stain on an effort to get him in before he passed. But that's what I think. What do y'all think about that? Should Pete Rose be put in, even though he's gone? Or should MLB just let it be since he signed that contract saying, okay, I'm banned. Nothing I can do. Something to think about. And it just shows you the first couple topics. Well, first in this one, a lot of issues for MLB that truly doesn't show well to folks out there. Let me say that. Okay, so let's go to the Beltway area. Know we have a good person out there. Bye-bye Beltway beef. Now, this has been festering on for 20 years. The Washington Nationals and Baltimore Orioles jointly announced the final resolution of all issues related to the Masson dispute. After 20 years, the Nats will finally be free after this season. Now, Masson, of course, the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network, are owned by the Orioles. And they had the rights, television-wise, of both the Orioles and the Nats. All these years since Montreal moved, or MLB moved Montreal to Washington. Think about that. For 20 years, the Nats have not been getting their television rights. But for the 2025 season, the Nationals will continue to be televised on locally on the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network under a new one-year contract. But after that term, the Nationals will be free to explore alternatives for their television rights for the 2026 season and beyond. Free at last. Now you got to find a cable network that will be out there. Of course, you have the Wizards in town and the Capitals, National Basketball Association and National Hockey League. One's doing well and one isn't, of course, but they're both on one network, and I imagine the Nats joining on them. I believe it's NBC Sports Washington. Yeah, that's it. So we'll see if that's the case, if that happens, but that's after this season. Now, as a part of the settlement, all disputes related to past media rights between the Nats, Orioles, and Masson have been resolved, and all litigation will be dismissed. Thank God. But it's just interesting to think of. Just imagine the Angels move to Southern California from somewhere else, and the Dodgers say, well, you have to give your TV rights since you're in our area. You can't make any money off of that. It just sounds so crazy, but of course the Orioles have had that market by themselves since 1971, when the Washington Senators, moved to Texas and became the Texas Rangers. So that's why you saw presidents since then throughout first pitches at Oriole games, because that was the closest game, our closest ballpark to Washington. So it's just interesting to note right there. Okay, so unfortunately, spring training comes with injuries. I mean, we all do, right? My body hurts, whatever. But spring and injuries. I don't know why I put this. It sounds very mean, I think. But of course, we'll start with the Yankees. And remember, we talked about Giancarlo Stanton. He will begin the season on the injured list because of elbow injuries. There's tendonitis in both. And he's always had an interesting stand. If you ever seen his stance, I should say. Both elbows are out, and he's, barely swinging the bat, it seems like. But he generates so much power on it. And he received platic-rich plasma injections, just called injections, in both of his elbows, but you need time to heal from that. According to the New York Post on that, he was the 2017 National League MVP. He's been away from the team while dealing with a personal matter as well. But he is expected to rejoin the Yankees in Tampa next week. But not only is he injured, but he had to go to New York, get a second opinion, and then get the surgery done. Meanwhile, whatever personal is personal. He's also 35 years old, and he has one of the worst contracts. Now, this might make the Yankees have to go out and get a designated hitter. Remember how long it took JD Martinez to get signed by the Mets last year? Remember, he didn't start the season right away. He joined him, May, June, I want to say, but maybe the Yankees go after JD Martinez. It would be weird for him to don a Yankees uniform, but they might need him. Stanton, by the way, last season he hit .233 with 27 home runs, 72 RBIs, 114 games played last year. Remember, there were fans that were not happy about him jogging into home a couple of times, but he had hamstring issues. So when you make that much money on a contract, when you get traded over from Miami and you You expect to be the power, and you have Judge overshadow you. It's a lot put on him. The fans put a lot on Giancarlo Stanton. But remember, he was very, very clutch in the playoffs last season. He had 7 home runs, 16 RBIs, and 14 postseason games. And he was the ALCS MVP when the Yankees eliminated the Cleveland Guardians in October. So we'll see if he gets back. When he gets back this season, it's going to be a process for Giancarlo Stanton. And Yankee fans, they've been impatient since 2009. They want a winner. They want a World Series winner. Their standards are different than a few others. They won a World Series. They were beaten by the Dodgers, of course, last year in 5 games. So New York has to see what they get out of Stanton when he gets back. Now, there's also other trouble for the New York Yankees. Luis Hill, remember, he was a young pitcher last year that broke out for them and did so well. Well, he's out 6 weeks with a lat strain, so he's also going to start the season on the IL. And that will bring up who we talked about last week. Marcus Stroman will probably be put into the rotation now. We'll see if he earns that spot and how he comes out and pitches in the spring appearances he has for Stroman. It's just funny how some things work out. Down in Florida, Atlanta Braves catcher Sean Murphy will be out 4 to 6 weeks. He had a cracked rib. He was hit by a pitch and taken out of the game, of course. That is nothing to joke with right there. Baltimore, also in Florida there. Their shortstop, Gunnar Henderson, had lower right side discomfort last week. Shook it off this week and has felt better. He was playing games. He had a little discomfort. They're taking it, day by day, week by week, whatever you want to say. They're hopeful. Brandon Hyde mentioned that he gets to start the season right away on opening day, but you just got to see how it heals, how the discomfort is, and if you need to take the days off, do it. Out in Arizona for the Rangers, Adolis Garcia, their right fielder, was scratched from 2 days ago. Tuesday's lineup due to a left oblique injury, and will undergo an MRI. Now, we'll have to see if that's a lingering issue for him going into and through the season. It just, maybe it's how much force he has with the swing that he has. We'll see if that's an issue for him as he goes into the season. That's going to be interesting for Adolis Garcia. There's a lot of pressure on him to perform well like he did in 2023. Corbin Carroll of Arizona, the Diamondbacks, he left the game 4 days ago with lower back tightness. He's trying to shake off a sophomore slump season last year. Did pick it up in the second half of the season, just like the Diamondbacks did, but they ran out of games. So look out for that. Corbin Carroll, of course, he is the fire starter of that Diamondback lineup that has gone through some changes this year. Gurriel's still there, but Christian Walker is gone. They did get better at starting pitching. They ended up getting Corbin Burns. So they're really trying to fight for a wild card. I don't think they're going to get the West, of course, since the Dodgers are right there. But they are trying for a playoff spot. Now, we talked about the Red Sox earlier, but Rafael Devers isn't ready to play games just yet. He has the right shoulder injury, and he's taking it day by day. Cora's really watching it very close with the workouts that he has on the fields on the side. So you won't see him in any games at least this week or weekend, but they're hoping, Boston is hoping next week to see him get in that work, Because he wants to play third base. That's his spot. He's been here the longest. You can't have it, Alex. It's mine. Some other notes here before we get out of here. Roki Suzaki, the starting pitcher, shined in his first spring for the Dodgers. Yesterday, he struck out 5 Cincinnati Red batters and threw his fastest pitch of the spring at 99.2 miles per hour, and LA also won 4-2. By the way, Suzuki, he does have a devastating splitter, and that's something that if you can get right, you can really, really fool hitters. Once it drops off the table very well, it's hard to hit unless you could time it. But Suzuki and Yamamoto, by the way, for LA, are expected to be the starting pitchers when the Dodgers and Cubs face off in Tokyo. The Tokyo series in Japan, March 18th and 19th. Yamamoto will get the first start in Japan, and then Suzuki is slated for the second start against Chicago. Those 2 games, by the way, start the regular season just like the Dodgers and Padres did in South Korea last year. And then one final note, and this one is just mind-boggling. It's not MLB, but it's baseball. The George Mason University Patriots. You remember them, I think, in 2003 or 4, having a great March Madness run. But they made college baseball history on Tuesday night by scoring a record 23 runs in 1 inning. Kind of like softball. But imagine that, 23 runs in 1 inning during their 26-6 victory over Holy Cross. Holy crap. The record was by Penn State and one other. The record in 1 inning of runs scored was 21. And this all came in the top of the third, by the way, of the game. They still had all those innings to play. But imagine being down 23, nothing just like that for Holy Cross. I mean, you're going to need Hail Marys, whatever, to get through that game. But, well, that has been the tour around the league with me, James, for episode 2 here. Again, take advantage of all the sponsors, the deals that you got here for the upcoming Angel season. I'm planning to be at the home opener and the Saturday after, so the 4th and the 5th of the Angel games. I forget who they play, but HITI's going to have something going on, of course. So watch all the programs. Make sure you get the info and keep it either jot it down or in your head of where we're going to be and how we can meet everyone and talk about baseball and go around the league maybe with you. That was cool. I guess that's it. We'll see you next time on Around the League, the 3rd episode. Maybe we'll do predictions. Maybe we'll hold off on that. Who knows? But we'll see you next time on Around the League with James. Take care, folks.